Hi friends, today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about landscape. Landscape should be review for most of you, but I have made a check sheet for us to help remember the different parts of the landscape. The first part we're going to focus on is the horizon line. The horizon line shows us the difference between the sky and the ground. When you draw your horizon line, it should be pretty close to the top because we want to leave plenty of room for the ground. You have the option that you could have a nice straight ground, or you could make it look bumpy like hills, or maybe pointed like mountains. For me, I think I'm going to do bumpy so that it kind of looks like hills way far in the distance. So there we go. I've got my horizon line showing the difference between the sky and the ground, so I'm going to check that off. The next part of it says the foreground. Now the foreground is the stuff at the front of the paper. So that's going to be the things that are closest to you. Because they are close to you, they are going to have really big sizes for the objects that are in the foreground. So for example, let's say I wanted to draw a flower in my foreground. I'm going to draw that flower nice and big. So here's the center of my flower. I'm adding some petals around it. I've got my stem, and then I've got a nice leaf here at the bottom. If this is my foreground, it is close to the bottom of my paper and it's nice and large in size. So I can check that off of our sheet. The next part of it then, the middle ground, takes place in the middle of the paper. So the foreground's in the front, the middle ground's in the middle. This is a little bit farther away from us, so the size has to change and it has to get a little bit smaller. So just to keep things similar, I'm going to do another flower, but I'm going to have it higher up on my paper and I'm going to make it just a little bit smaller so that it's more of a medium-sized flower instead of a large one like in the foreground. There we go. So the foreground in the front and big. The middle ground is in the middle and a little bit smaller, more of a medium size. I can check that one off. Finally, we've got the background. The background is the furthest away from us. So it's not going to be at the bottom. It's not going to be in the middle. It's going to be towards the top, but still on the ground. So not quite in the sky there. The things that are in the background should be really, really small. So if I'm doing another flower to show the difference, I would want a tiny flower because then it really looks like it's far away from us. Anything that you add in your picture then has to be similar to these sizes. So for example, if I'm going to have something down here at the bottom, it needs to be really large like my flower is. Or if it's in the middle ground, it needs to be medium size. If it's in the background, it's going to be really, really tiny. Let's say, just so you can see it again, I want to add some birds to my picture. If it's down at the bottom, this bird has to be nice and big. So I'm going to draw nice big wings here. It's going to have an eye. I can see where the beak would be. Here's a tail. I've got little feet for it. But then if I wanted to have one in the middle ground, it needs to be a little bit smaller, more of a medium size. So it's still got its wings. Here we've got the body, an eye. Still got some legs for it. And again, if I wanted to show something way off in the background, it's going to have to be tiny in comparison. Now this is all talking about the ground. We haven't really talked about the sky too much. After you work on adding lots of things to your foreground, middle ground, and background, you can also do things in the sky, like maybe you wanted to add clouds. Maybe you wanted to have a sun or a moon depending on what time of day it is. Maybe you can see an airplane or a hot air balloon somewhere in your sky. It's up to you what you add in your picture, but I definitely encourage you to think about what size and where on your picture it should go. Be creative and remember, have lots of fun.